Um, I wanted to throw you a bit of a curveball actually today because I know
Okay.
because I know I said that I wanted to talk about like relapse,
Uh-huh.
right?
I know, which I was thinking about.
Yes, and we can talk about that if you want, but also
Awesome.
yeah, yeah. But something occurred to me before that, because I haven't really spoken to people or anybody about like triggers, right, and identifying
Yeah,
triggers, which I know is a big part of what you do.
that's great.
Um, so I guess I don't know, like what could you before like a relapse, like when somebody is trying to either quit or cut down a lot, identifying triggers is something that like across the board people say like you need to figure out a plan to confront that basically. So what would
Mhm.
be your approach to dealing with yeah, dealing with triggers?
Are we recording? Like, is this part of the show?
Yeah. We're alive. Live TV.
I love it.
We're doing it. No
Okay.
intro. No intro for this one. Yeah,
Just
just
like
go.
straight into trigger.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
No, how
All
are
right. I
yous?
love
No.
that. I know. I love how we have that comfort level with each other. All right.
I mean,
So trigger. Um, yeah. So this is why I have a few words that I love when I work with my clients. So one is that we need to have compassionate curiosity with ourselves. And another one that I love to say is that it's all research. So I think that having these two approaches, one being incredibly compassionate with yourself and viewing this whole desire to make a change in your life with curiosity, and then imagining that you're just doing investigative research. And so you have this opportunity now to look at yourself differently, to understand yourself differently in a way that's really not talked about in our society and our culture. And we don't have the skills around this. We're not taught how to learn about our triggers, for example, to learn about why we might be feeling reactive in certain situations, and also how that relates to our alcohol use. So when we can try to shift away from shaming ourselves or feeling bad or feeling frustrated, which I feel like we often go to that place really quickly when we're trying to make a change. We set our mind to something or we set a goal and we want to make the change, and then it gets hard or we get triggered. We don't understand why, and we might slide back into an old habit or drink more than we wanted to, or start drinking again, and then we get really frustrated and disappointed with ourselves. So right from the start, I always say, look, this is like a process of investigation. You're not supposed to know all of the answers yet. You know, if you knew all of the answers, then we probably wouldn't even be talking, you know, because you would have figured it out already. And it's okay that you don't have all of the answers, because we're really good at protecting ourselves from our own pain. We're really good at protecting ourselves from our trauma. We're good at protecting ourselves from our stories. That's why, like, we create from the time we're really young as children, we create these frameworks to relate to the world. And so a lot of the systems, like our operating systems, they start before we ever have conscious memory. So of course this feels difficult. And then when, let's say, you know, you and I are having a conversation and you're really dismissive towards me, and I get like really mad and I can't let it go, and it's still bothering me when I get home, but I don't really acknowledge, like I don't know why, and then I'm mad at myself for being mad, because I'm like, it's just Chase, whatever, he didn't even mean it, you know. But I'm still like, it's there, it's under my skin, you know. And then you know, chances are I have a trauma or a pain story or a wound or whatever you want to call it from my childhood, or somewhere buried in the past, of when I felt like what I had to say wasn't important, or the people that really cared about me didn't take the time to listen, you know. So it's actually not about you. It's about this situation that happened in the past for me, but I'm protected from that own situation, the situation, you know, because as a child, well, one, we don't really have the emotional maturity. Two, when things are painful, we need protection from it. So we're protected from those painful stories about our parents or about the people, our caregivers. So we develop stories around it, you know, and then we go into our adult lives and we're kind of just bumbling our way through things, not understanding why when Chase doesn't give me the time of day or just gives me a nonchalant, like whatever answer, like why it really bothers me so much. So we need time to understand that, it's not obvious right away. And so setting the intention first and foremost when you're deciding to change your relationship to alcohol, and understanding what our triggers are, because I really believe that our changes will remain surface, and you'll need strategy all the time. Like you'll always be thinking about, how am I going to limit my drinks tonight? Or what are my strategies? You're going to stay stuck in that place if you don't actually do the deeper work of understanding your triggers and your pain points and what you're trying to hide from or numb from or distract from through alcohol. But we need to be compassionate with ourselves and we need to be curious, and we need to ask ourselves questions, and we need to kind of I like thinking about triggers as these red arrows, that point to the thing is on the surface, and then you kind of got to follow it down, until you get to where that story or that pain might originate from, and then heal there. So it does take some research. It takes some time. Sometimes we don't have this awareness right away. It doesn't happen overnight. Like you wouldn't know the number of times I hear from somebody, I just don't understand why, in this situation, or why is that, I don't get, you probably hear this too, I just don't get why I drink more sometimes, or why it's really hard for me to stop some nights, and other nights it's really easy, because we're still at the surface level and we don't take the time to ask ourselves those questions, partly because we're afraid of what the answers might be, partly because it feels scary, partly because we're so used to judging ourselves so harshly that, that we don't even want to start the conversation, because we feel like we're going to be like, it's a negative conversation, which is where the compassion comes in. It's like, hey, it's okay that you don't know all this stuff. It's okay that you just got triggered again. There's nothing wrong with that. We're human beings. So being really compassionate is so important too. I'm clearly passionate about this.
Yeah, for sure. No, and I really like that. I really like that idea of self-investigation and giving yourself the time to figure these things out, because a lot of times we want answers immediately. And for me, when I think about triggers too, it's interesting to think about that they can also be more positive things too, right? Because for me, my biggest trigger for drinking is when something goes well, or I want to celebrate something, or I'm with that one special person, right? Like my best bro from college, right? You know who you are. I always want to drink with. Those are also positive things, because I drink a lot for enhancement. So it's not just when somebody, I mean, like you said, those are super valid, when somebody's dismissive with you, or any situation, but it can also be stuff that's when something really good happens. So I think that's really effective. This idea of taking time to investigate and get a full picture of yourself. And I think that's when therapy and coaching can really come in handy.
I love that you mentioned that, because that's also definitely the celebratory side of things, is one that I see a lot with my clients, or when things are going well. Also, when they feel like they want a reward, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? I've been good. I did all my things, I just want to reward myself with this. And this is something that I over the years, I've used as a reward. That in and of itself isn't anything negative. Actually, none of this is really negative. We just frame it that way for ourselves. But I love that you brought up that point. I think that part two then of everything that I just said about triggers and how to understand them more, the part two then is to understand what's underneath it. What's the underlying need that you think, or that you've convinced yourself of, probably unconsciously, that you need alcohol to meet. So let's use your example. So what a positive reunion or connection, or you're hanging out with your best friend, what is the story around alcohol there? What is the unconscious story or correlation that you think you need alcohol to get to a certain thing in order to achieve? So what would it be in that situation that you just described?
Oh, you're putting me on the spot? Oh,
yeah.
Oh no. Oh,
you
God.
just did it to me.
No, I didn't know.
This isn't tit for tat, but I do think that it might be a helpful exercise for everybody that's listening.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I think for me in those situations, it's like, well, maybe this is not positive, but what I have done is kind of having the conversation with myself. Like, yes, I want to celebrate. Yes, things are going great. And I want to drink
Mhm.
to enhance that.
Mm,
Because I guess I have this fear of like, I'm never going to like, it's never going to be as good as this. Right. It's weird. I don't know.
mm,
So I definitely have the conversation after with like, well, I understand that if I drink, I'm going to ruin all this because tomorrow I'm going to feel terrible. I'm going to feel terrible for the next week. So I do have that conversation because I know what's going to happen. I don't know if that's
mhm.
a healthy way of going about it, but it's helped me kind of controlling myself. And I don't know. I guess what I do also is I kind of just meditate a little
Mhm.
bit. And I'm like, I just like kind of live in that space of like, I feel good. This is great. I don't need to drink in order to sustain that. Let me like breathe into it and let me go out and have one drinks or no drinks, one drink or no drinks and feel great. And then knowing that I'll feel great tomorrow and the next day, hopefully. So I don't know.
Right.
Is that a bad strategy? You can
I don't think there's any
deconstruct
good or
that.
bad
Yeah.
anyways. Um, you know, and if it's working for you, that's great. And I think what it illustrates is that yes, you had a story at some point that came from maybe college or whenever, that like when you got together with your best friend and you guys were drinking, it was like these are like the best days of our
Yep.
lives, right?
Oh,
So
oh
that's the
God.
feeling. Well, you felt like that at the
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
Now you know
No, you're right. You're
differently.
totally right. Oh God.
But there were some positive correlations, some neural pathways that were formed in your brain at that time that makes this association that when I'm with this person in a certain vibe, you know, that alcohol is going to make it even better because at one point it felt like it did. And again, that's not good or bad. It just is what it is. So now there's still a part of you that even though you've matured, you're at a different stage in your life, there's still a part of you. It's interesting, like you'll feel that actually happen first. Now you have these strategies. It's like, well, I can focus on all the other good things that are in my life. I can know that I can connect with my friend and we can have a really good time. It might not be as like crazy or wild as it was before, but it's actually really authentic connection, which is important to me now. And I'm not going to feel like crap the next day, which is a win. You know, so now you can kind of talk yourself through, well, wait, do I actually need alcohol to solidify this moment as this
Yeah.
really, really great night?
Yeah.
Or are there other ways that I can have that really great night and not feel like crap the next day? And it might look and feel a little bit different. And there's probably like, in some ways, you're still in a transition. Like you're not where you were before, but you're also not, like, it's not like you've have 20 years of things being different or you having a different relationship to alcohol. So you do, in a way, have to kind of coach yourself through it. And this happens, whatever the underlying need is, when we start to ask ourselves that question of what am I actually thinking that I need alcohol for? You know? And it usually, you can trace it back to some of the things you got from alcohol when you first started drinking. So I work a lot with women. And so for a lot of women that I work with, when they started drinking in their teens or in college, they started to feel more confident. They started to worry less about what everybody thought. They started to not have their parents' voices in their head all of the time, to feel like they could be their own person. Maybe they came into their sexuality, they felt more experimental, less inhibited. Like these are all really major things when you think about it. And so there's a part of your brain that believes that if I take alcohol away, then I'm going to what? Not be as confident, lose that connection, forget how to have sex. Like these seem really, they're like, when you say it out loud, it kind of feels really irrational because your adult self and your more evolved brain knows that that's not the truth, that that's not the part of your brain that's automated. That's not the part of your brain that is in control. And especially not when you're in stressful situations, which is why in trigger situations, we often go back to what feels more familiar. And so it really, we start to realize it's not actually about the alcohol so much. It's about what we think we need alcohol to achieve, or to what need we think alcohol is helping us get met. And then we start to realize, oh, actually, I can get those needs met in other ways. I don't actually need alcohol to feel connection. I don't actually need alcohol to feel confident. You know, maybe at one point in my life I did, and that's also not good or bad. It just is what it is. And now at a different stage of my life, I can do things on a daily basis to help feel more confident, to help change the conversation with myself so that I'm not putting myself down all of the time, you know, to make a priority for certain kinds of socializing with people, you know, to connect with my sexual self differently, you know, like but we have to become conscious of this first. We have to realize these unconscious needs that we thought we needed alcohol to fulfill. We have to realize what they are, and then we can start to kind of do the deeper healing or the awareness work or the practice even of getting those needs met in other ways, which often means us figuring out how to meet those needs in ourselves or connect with those parts of ourselves.
That was a really good read a couple of minutes ago when you talked about the whole idea of like college is, sorry, this is a couple of minutes ago, but like college is the best 4 years of your life and you got to make this so much fun. I've tried so hard not to buy into that for forever, but I guess I did in a way. So damn, well, yeah, called me. I feel called out, but no, that's completely accurate.
You know, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that it's like, it's good to know what stories have been there, you know, and what we might be holding on to without realizing that we are, and what we're making certain things mean.
Yeah,
you know,
for sure.
And it's really common that in some ways we stay stuck at the age where we had certain experiences with alcohol. So, and this is where this can also almost be where we trigger ourselves, I feel like, because it's almost like well, not almost like it is, there's two different parts of your brain that feel like they're at war with each other. So Chase, you know, of today is like, come on, man, that's stupid. Like, you know, and solely was not the best years of your life, you know? And like, why do you still feel like you want to like get shit faced when you see this certain friend? Like what the actual AF, you know? Yeah. And then there's this other part of you that's like still holding on to that because it meant something at the time. You know, and brain chemistry, like there were those neural pathways that were formed. So this is where coming back to the compassion is so important, because there's no point in being mad at yourself about that or shaming yourself about that or feeling disappointed in yourself. It's understanding that you actually have these different parts of your brain, and sometimes you're more connected to the part of your brain where habit is located. You know, when things become automated, it's in your primal part of your brain, because we needed habits, we needed predictability, we needed security, stability, certainty in order to survive. So we, you know, and a lot of us go on to autopilot with our drinking. So then we're these adults that are still having these unconscious motivators around our alcohol use. And then we're like in conflict with ourselves because it doesn't feel aligned with where we are right now. And yet it's still there. And the way for it to not be there is to bring it out, you know, and acknowledge it and see it for what it is. And then exactly like you said, your strategies of meditating, having the conversation with yourself, you know, you said it almost in kind of a, like, not a joking, but I don't know if this is the right thing to be doing. I think it's actually really, really exactly what you need to be doing. And everybody will find their version of that, of then how do I be the adult to that younger part of myself and say, hey, it's not bad that you feel that way. It's not bad that you have that impulse or that trigger or whatever it is. It just is what it is. And here's some other strategies that you might want to try, or here's some other ways that you actually might get closer to that feeling that once upon a time you thought you needed alcohol for. Now you know that you don't. And here, I'll show you how. It's almost like we have to, like coach or parent our way through it. You know, here's how you can actually feel closer to your friend. Hey, you know, you've been missing that kind of wild spontaneity. Why don't you plan a like crazy adventure, you know, or go on some like, you know, extreme sport, or like maybe there's other things you can do to like connect with that wild experience that you had back then, or have a bond with your friend. That doesn't mean, you know, a night where you go out and get wasted and you don't remember the end of the night and you wake up feeling like crap the next day.
Yeah. And the good news for me is that the last time I saw this particular friend, we, you know, hung out and control ourselves and didn't get really drunk.
Yeah,
and it was
he's
great.
like, He's like, yo, you have a podcast called
Yeah, no,
something
yeah.
called
He was like,
Moderation, bro.
yeah, he was very respectful. He was like, you can't, yeah. He was like, you can't have another drink. That's it. That's your last glass of wine. I was like, thanks. I appreciate
You
it.
know, it's so funny. It's like when my best friend, I remember this moment so clearly. It was when I went to New York a few years ago to celebrate my birthday. And my best friend from Canada met me there. And she was like, so I just want to check in with you about your intentions for the night.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah. I
Amazing.
was like, you've been reading my blog.
Yeah, yeah. She's
But
like,
it
no,
is.
no, no, what?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but it's really sweet too when you realize that your friends are paying attention.
Yeah.
And that also, because again, the fear of losing the friendship is fear of losing connection, fear of losing love. Again, these go back to our most like primal, basic human needs, right? Connection, we need connection to survive. We need to be a part of the tribe, you know? The love that comes along with the love is what? It shows me that I'm a part of the tribe. It shows me that I'm accepted. Also the stuff, the acceptance, these are like basic to our survival. And so then we fear as adults, like, I'm going to change and I'm going to lose that connection. I'm going to, and decide, this happens a lot in relationships, right? Like, I'm going to stop drinking as much and my partner isn't going to want to be with me, And again, when you say it out loud, it seems really stupid and irrational, but it makes sense to that part of your brain. And so it's really important just to understand what that's about. And then when you can take care of yourself, as you have learned how to do, when you can coach yourself through it, talk yourself through it, and then you get that positive affirmation from your friend, then each time that happens in different circumstances, the fear is going to be less, or the impulse of, no, but there's still this part of me that feels like I need to do a certain kind of thing or drink a certain amount of alcohol in order for us to be really good friends. That part is going to get less and less and less because you have more and more and more positive evidence that that's just not true anymore, And now that you have this deepening connection that's evolving as you guys evolve as adults and as men, and it's actually like this really cool friendship. And now that fear is unfounded, but there is a part of you that believed it at a certain time, again, because it's trying to protect you.
Yeah, no, and it's great to see the progress, and it's been fun to progress and see my friends progress as well, even though they're not consciously like trying to do it. So that's been fun. Talking about triggers and whatnot, you have some very exciting events coming up with your organization. So would you like to share with us what is going on?
Yeah. So next week, on Monday, the 21st, I start a 7-day reset. So this is something that I've done for a number of years now, and it's really fun. And actually, I had people emailing me because it's starting later this year. Usually it starts right after Labor Day. What would be Labor Day in Canada and the United States? So usually after the first weekend of September. And people were like, hey, are you going to do the reset? And it was really amazing feedback for me because I realized how important this experience is and how much of my community really looks forward to the opportunity to reset. And actually, some people have done it year after year, and it means different things for them each year. And this year in particular has been such a crazy year for so many people, right? And so it feels more timely than ever. It started a little bit later. It's going to start a little bit later in September, also because of my own life. I'm a single mom and I needed to figure out childcare and how, if my daughter was going back to school or not, all the uncertainty that a lot of people are living, I was also living as well. So I needed to make sure, because it's a very involved, I guess I could call it a container of 7 days of, when you sign up, you receive a daily email with reflection questions. Well, actually, the theme for the day, reflection questions or journaling prompts. There's a pre-recorded video And then there's also a Facebook Live. So there's a Facebook community, and there's a Facebook Live every single day, and a ton of support within the group. So I do live coaching and answer people's questions, and also show a lot of the daily practices or different tools every day live. And then I'm also in the group coaching and supporting people with their comments and questions. So it's a really amazing opportunity to start to reflect on what your relationship to alcohol is. It's called a reset for a reason. It really can mean whatever you want it to be at this moment in time. And it also has a lot to do with resetting other habits in your life. So basically just resetting how you're showing up for yourself and doing it on your own terms. So my program is called Redefining Sobriety. And basically what I do is I help people redefine their relationship to alcohol on their own terms. And so the reset is a snapshot, but we really go quite deep. And every single day I cover a theme of what my 8-week program covers. So basically in the 7 days of this live reset that we do, which is free, by the way, we each day have a theme that then in my longer program, which is an 8-week program, which will be starting on October 5th, we spend an entire week / the entire program, because it builds, each week builds on the next with that theme. And day 4 is all about triggers. So I was actually just recording the video for day 4, and it's one of my favorite days because, well, I love all the days for different reasons, but I feel like it's a way to, the space that we create and the kind of support that's available to people there, which is really, really non-judgmental, allows ourselves to have kind of the conversation that you and I just had, and for people to have those kinds of insights. Like you actually just had an insight, that you maybe weren't expecting to have about a story, that you had been telling yourself or kind of pushing away because you didn't want to admit it to yourself. And we all do that, right? So it's a space where you can ask yourself those kind of questions. You can feel like you're in conversation with me, the way that I've just been in conversation with Chase. And you'll come out of those 7 days after the free reset with more awareness. You will. There's no way that if you show up and you participate every day, even if you don't participate every day, but you're there and trust that whatever you're getting out of it is going to be what you need in exactly that moment, and you will come out with more awareness and more understanding of how to move forward with redefining your relationship to alcohol, whatever you want that to look like, whether you want to cut it out completely, whether you just want to learn how to moderate, whether you're just not even sure, but that it might not be all awesome right now. Like maybe there's something that you want to change. You don't even know what it is. That's perfect. It's a great place to figure it out.
And full disclaimer, I have actually never officially taken your program, but every time we talk, it kind of ends up feeling like a coaching session, which is amazing. That's why I love speaking with you every time. So yes, highly, highly recommended on my part. How do we get in touch with you and sign up for this event?
So the best way is that Chase is going to put some links.
Oh, yes, I am.
Yes, you are. And you can sign up through the link that Chase is going to post. That'll be accompanying this video or this audio if you're listening to the podcast, and sign up as soon as you can, because the Facebook group is already happening. And so I did a Facebook Live on Thursday, for example, with the new moon and all about how to, it was a beautiful visualization about how to connect with your intentions. And so people are already getting to know each other in the Facebook group. And again, like I said, the official content starts dropping on Monday, the 21st. And I just really recommend starting there. There's obviously other ways to get in touch with me. You can check out my Instagram at Redefining Sobriety. There's info about the reset there, but the best way is just to go directly through the link that is posted here, and that will give you access into the reset. And then from there, you'll also get a chance to hear about Redefining Sobriety. And then we can also provide links once the enrollment opens for that. We can provide links for that as well. We can update the show notes with those links as well.
All right. Yep. So there you have it. So yes, September reset starting September 21st, right? So got to sign up now. Yep. And Any other information you want to share with the people before we sign off?
No, I just really look forward to meeting you in the group. And you know, it's honestly one of my favorite things that I do. I've been coaching for 7 years and I've done the reset for the past 3, and I love it. I really love it. And I know how important it is right now and how timely, given what a lot of people, you know, the challenges and stresses that a lot of people have lived through recently. So it feels even more important right now. And I'm just really excited to meet the group of people who decide to do this. And one other thing is that if you're listening to this and you have 5 friends that you want to join with you, I'm offering a really special bonus this year, which I've never offered before. But I actually, through the pandemic and when everything shut down and I stopped being able to do some of my in-person events, I started doing virtual retreats, and they were really, really amazing. So because I know how important this is right now, and because I know that we also tend to carry around shame or maybe self-stigmatizing, and I just really want to help support you to break free of that. And one of the ways we can do that is inviting our friends and just saying, hey, you know what? I've been drinking a bit more than I wanted to, or I've been drinking more at home, or I just have not been on track with my habits, with my healthy habits, or I'm just having a hard time showing up for myself. I signed up for this free challenge. I'd love it if you would join me. You know, that's pretty simple to share in that way with your friends or your family. And if 6 of you sign up together, I'm going to gift you a free virtual retreat with me as well, which is a really cool in-depth experience. And I would meet with you beforehand, and just, you know, there's some preparatory work that we would do to really get a sense of exactly what would be the most amazing experience for you and your group of 6 people. And then we would do a virtual retreat. And so that's a bonus to invite you, not only you, but your people into the experience with you, and for me to then share an even more in-depth experience with you, and some fun things that is just a different format. So it's a little bit more like it's a slightly longer session, but we go more deep more quickly, whereas the 7-day reset is broken up into really accessible kind of bite-sized content, and we build throughout the week. So
Awesome.
they're both amazing.